I quit drinking soda 17 years ago, if you can believe it. A common question I have to answer often is people who ask me that if I knew I had 3 months left to live, if I would drink a soda. I don't even have to hesitate to answer that question. No way. The reason being that I enjoy my life free of soda, even at the last minute of my life. Why would I want to suffer the last couple of minutes of my life to consume something I'm not even craving anymore? And people often have a hard time believing that question. And I guess in 2020 we came to the closest approximation I've ever seen of me answering that question, despite all the problems of all the possibilities of dying, all the possibilities of life as we know it ending. I didn't go back to any of that. In fact, I strengthened my eating habits even more. You see, I had stopped consuming all sugar, all MSG, all trans fat for all of those for more than 15 years. And this past year, going into the year, one of my biggest problems was binge eating, or more accurately, the loss of control of my eating autonomy. What had happened was that I had lost a job over this, actually. I would start eating something, and something would come up that required my attention, whether it be work-related, whether it be a social event, and my mouth would continue to water as I'm trying to get through the other event. And I've ruined too many. One of my favorite examples, this one I think more people can relate to when I explain it. Imagine you're watching a movie and you're eating a bag of chips, right? And as you're paying attention to the movie, you reach into the bag and there's no more chips left. And it feels like, even if it's 3 in the morning, it feels like you have to run out to the store to buy another bag just to feel whole. You know, otherwise you feel like there's a gap. It's so weird. I think more people can relate to the chips when I bring it up that way. If I bring it up as my meal's being interrupted, I have to go to a meeting. Not too many people can relate to that. But I used to have very intense feelings of that. And 2020 didn't change my feelings about needing to correct that. In fact, even when I had a pretty big scare earlier this year when I had some symptoms. It wasn't COVID, but I didn't know that. This was back in March, when every little thing that you didn't feel right could potentially be your last moment. I didn't feel a need to jump back to my favorite junk foods, or I gotta put favorite in quotation marks, right? I didn't even like them, right? But people don't see it that way. See, when you think in terms of, oh my God, I can't wait until I'm going to be dying so I can go back to these foods, you're phrasing it as you're sacrificing these foods, right? I never felt that way. I felt like I freed myself from these foods or these habits. Unfortunately, the binge eating is a bit of a tricky one, because I still have to dabble with binge eating, right? You don't get rid of it like you did with the sugar or the MSG or the trans fat and move on to something else, right? It's a lot easier for me to completely cut ties and move on to something else that I enjoy a lot better, right? That's a big problem. Now, about a month ago, I was reading an article online. I can't remember which health guru I was reading, but one of the health gurus. And he said that he was anticipating even more rioting with the second wave of the lockdowns. And he commented that the average American is about 3 missed meals away from very serious unrest. And that strengthened my resolve even more. I don't want to be 3 meals away from losing control of my faculties, right? I want to be making good decisions even when I'm missing 8 or 9 meals, right? And it just goes to show how little control people have over their faculties. When I saw that, even to this day, when I have nightmares, I want you to pause this video to think about what the number one nightmare I've had in 2020 was. I've had about a dozen of these. I still have nightmares about losing a job, or losing ties with family members, or maybe breaking up in a relationship over my compulsive eating problems. I don't have that many nightmares about COVID-19, believe it or not. Oh, it's so weird. Or I'll have a nightmare that I can't find my favorite foods and I'm a mess and I'll murder somebody. I had a nightmare that I was on the run from the law because I had murdered somebody over a food craving. Oh, I did have one nightmare about COVID 19. This one's interesting. In the nightmare, the dream took place in 2023 or so. And I was watching the news, and they were showing how many people were dying of COVID 19. By this point, several billion people had died, and hundreds of thousands or even millions of people were dying every day of COVID 19. And the numbers were just spinning out of control. And as the news anchor was talking about this, he collapsed and died right on the TV. And there was even on the screen, there was like a projected date of human extinction. And during the nightmare, I remember thinking to myself, I'm so glad that I got off of my compulsive eating disorder, even though I might not have a few more months to live. I'm so glad that I'm not doing that anymore and enjoying every one of these last days that I have. And that's really how I feel about it. So stop thinking of your healthy eating goals as something that you're sacrificing, and hopefully you'll sacrifice for a few years or a few months, and you'll snap right back out of it. And start thinking of as a new way of enjoying life and enhancing the life that you do have, even if it's only a few months left, right? Thanks for watching.